Suffering. It's the question that shakes even the strongest believers. If God is good, if He loves us, why does He allow pain? Why does He let us struggle? The answer isn't simple, but it's powerful. God doesn't waste pain. Every trial, every hardship, every tear has a purpose. In James 1:2-4, we're told to consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. God allows suffering not to break us, but to build us. Pain refines us like fire purifies gold. It strengthens our faith, teaching us to trust Him when the path is dark. Look at Job. He lost everything: his wealth, his health, even his family. But through his suffering, he encountered God in a deeper way than ever before. And in the end, God restored him. What Satan meant for destruction, God used for greater glory. Even Jesus, the Son of God, wasn't spared from suffering. He endured the cross, the ultimate pain, for the greatest purpose, our salvation. If God allowed His own Son to suffer for a higher plan, we can trust that our struggles aren't meaningless. He is working, even when we can't see it. So, when suffering comes, don't ask, "Why me?" Ask, "What is God teaching me?" Because on the other side of pain, there is purpose. On the other side of trials, there is transformation. And through it all, God is with you. Hold on. Keep the faith. Your story isn't over. God is still writing it. Maybe, right now, you're in the middle of the storm. The prayers feel unanswered. The weight on your shoulders feels unbearable. But listen, God has not abandoned you. He sees every tear, hears every cry, and feels every ounce of your pain. In Romans 8:28, God promises that in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him. That doesn't mean everything will be easy. It doesn't mean we won't face heartbreak, loss, or failure. But it does mean that God is using even the worst moments for something greater. Think about Joseph. He was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, thrown into prison for a crime he didn't commit. For years he suffered, not knowing why. But in the end, God elevated him to a position of power and used him to save an entire nation, including the very brothers who betrayed him. Joseph told them in Genesis 50:20, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." What the enemy meant for destruction, God used for deliverance. And that's what He's doing in your life. Your pain is not the end. You might feel like you're at rock bottom, but remember this: God does His best work in the darkest moments. When all seems lost, that's when His power shines the brightest. The same God who parted the Red Sea, who brought dry bones to life, who conquered death itself, that same God is fighting for you. So don't quit. Don't give in to doubt. Your pain is producing something greater than you can see right now. Stay faithful. Keep trusting. Because when this season ends, when you step out of the fire, you'll realize that God was never absent. He was refining you, shaping you, and preparing you for something far greater. Your story isn't over. God is still writing it. And the best part? Victory is already written in His plan. Hold on, because breakthrough is coming. It's easy to trust God when life is smooth, but faith is proven in the fire. The enemy wants you to believe that your suffering is pointless, that God has forgotten you. But that's a lie. God is closer than ever in your struggle. Think about a silversmith refining silver. The metal is placed in the fire, not to destroy it, but to purify it. The silversmith watches closely, never taking his eyes off the silver. Because if it stays in the fire too long, it could be ruined. Do you know when He knows it's ready? When He can see His reflection in it. That's what God is doing in you. He is refining you in the fire so that you reflect His image. Every hardship, every trial, every tear is shaping you to be stronger, wiser, and more faithful. In 2 Corinthians 4:17, Paul reminds us, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all." Your suffering is not in vain. It is preparing you for something greater than you can imagine. Don't stop walking. Your Red Sea is about to part. Remember when the Israelites stood before the Red Sea, trapped between Pharaoh's army and the water? Fear gripped them. Doubt filled their hearts. They thought it was over, but God wasn't done. He made a way where there was no way. Right now, you might feel like you're standing before your own Red Sea. You don't see a way forward. You don't know how you'll make it through. But listen, God specializes in the impossible. He's the God who makes rivers in the desert, the God who brings down walls with a shout, the God who turns graves into gardens, and He's the same God who is working in your life right now. So don't stop walking. Don't let the weight of suffering convince you to give up. Keep moving forward, even when you don't see the path. Because just when it looks like there's no way out, God will make a way.